Nintendo, once again, just ignoring the fact that they just had an E3 conference last month, announced on Wednesday, just a random Wednesday, that they are releasing a brand new version of the Nintendo Switch in the form of the Nintendo Switch Lite. For those who don't know, the Nintendo Switch Lite is a cheaper alternative to the normal Nintendo Switch with a lot of features missing as a result. For starters, you can't dot it. In fact, you can't play it on a television at all. It does not come with a dot in the box. It also doesn't come with detachable Joy-Cons. This is an all-in-one system in which the Joy-Cons are sealed onto the unit. There's no tit stand, so you can't play it in tabletop mode. There's no HD rumble in the Joy-Cons, which means you're not going to be able to feel any ice cubes in a glass. Sorry about that. And also, there's no IR camera on the right Joy-Con, meaning that the entire system is not compatible with things like Nintendo Labo. And I'm sure there's something else that's used that camera. 1-2 Switch, maybe? Is that it? Is that the only two things that you can't use that with? I mean, they're the two best games, they're the two best things on the Switch, right? So if you want Labo or 1-2 Switch, this isn't for you, I guess. This is not for you. Sorry. It's got a slightly smaller screen size, like less than an inch smaller than the usual model, and in general, it's just a more compact system, which makes it perfect for portable play. And that's the point of this. This is an entirely portable console that is not designed to be docked, making the fact that it's called a Switch still kind of confusing, but that is, this is the company that released the Wii U. The Wii U. The fact that it's called the Switch Lite when their last handheld console was called the new Nintendo 3DS, my apologies, the new Nintendo 2DS XL is actually quite impressive that it's not called something stupid. So what does this mean for Nintendo, for the Switch moving forward, and the handheld market as a whole? Well, here's some loose thoughts about the Nintendo Switch Lite. Before we start, it's worth asking, am I surprised by this? Are any of us surprised by this? And the answer is, of course, no. Not only are hardware refreshes par for the course now and have been for a long time, especially when it comes to Nintendo, a company that refreshes its handheld offering every other year and has done since the original Game Boy, it makes perfect sense that they're releasing a variation on their now incredibly popular console. Not only that, but back in March, a Wall Street Journal article reported that two new versions of the Switch were coming, one of which was the now announced Nintendo Switch Lite, alongside the still unseen but still heavily rumoured Nintendo Switch Pro. We'll talk about the Nintendo Switch Pro in a minute, but for starters, I think Nintendo have made a really smart move by announcing the Nintendo Switch Lite. It might seem like a really weird move, especially when you consider that it doesn't have half the features that make the Nintendo Switch so unique, including its fundamental selling point, the fact that you can plug it into your television and take it on the go. Making it into a dedicated handheld device does feel very strange, especially when you consider that you're also stripping away the local multiplayer aspect of the Switch that makes it so unique. The fact that you don't have those detachable Joy-Cons anymore means you can't play Mario Kart at the pub anymore. So you're probably thinking, well, who is this for? And the answer is quite simple, actually. It's for the same group of people that bought the Nintendo 2DS. Let's not forget that when Nintendo announced the Nintendo 2DS, a version of the 3DS that lacked its core functionality, that lacked weird little features like the fact that you could no longer fold it, it was like a one solid unit design, which looked ridiculous. We were all like, what the hell are you doing? This is a classic Nintendo move. You created a monstrosity, and oh my god, it's so successful. It's so successful that in 2013, when the Nintendo 2DS was released, it resulted in the highest number of 3DS sales since its launch. In 2013, Nintendo sold 13.95 million units. Nearly 14 million units Nintendo managed to ship because they created a version of the Nintendo 3DS that was cheaper and, here's the most important part, child-friendly. And that is exactly why the Nintendo Switch Lite will sell by the truckload. The Nintendo Switch Lite is clearly designed for children. It's designed for younger players that maybe can't be trusted with the more expensive version of the hardware. By making it portable only and you're unable to pull out the Joy-Cons and stuff like that, it becomes a more secure system, it's got less moving parts, and let's face it, a cheaper price means that if little Sandra wants to play Pokemon this Christmas, chances are her parents are going to buy the beautiful looking Nintendo Switch Pokemon Edition, which is cheaper and there's less chance that she's going to try and eat it. And honestly, I think that is just the sole reason why Nintendo have done this. I think if you're old enough to be watching this video, if you're old enough to have an expendable income and you also already have a Nintendo Switch, chances are that the Nintendo Switch Lite just isn't marketed to you. I honestly think that this is just a move by Nintendo to release a more child-friendly system. They already have the assurance that this kind of strategy works. so it makes perfect sense that they try and replicate that success again. Also, I think it's fair to say that Nintendo has a lot of customers who are still on the Nintendo 3DS who probably haven't made that jump to the Nintendo Switch yet. So by making a version of the Nintendo Switch that bridges that gap a bit more clearly, by making a new handheld only system, they've got an entire market of people who've been on the Nintendo 3DS since maybe 2011 who might be ready to make the jump now that the Switch is handheld only and is much cheaper. Maybe they don't want a home console. Maybe they never bought the Nintendo Switch because they saw it as a home console and they weren't interested. But now they can buy a handheld console and play their Legend of Zeldas and their Marios and their Mario Karts and don't have to worry about plugging it into a dot. They just pick it up, they turn it on, they play it. And I know that the Nintendo Switch already does this, but maybe the branding for the Nintendo Switch is confusing. Maybe by saying, hey, we're Nintendo, this is our next dedicated handheld system, is what it takes to bring over that audience from the 3DS to the Switch. Either way, it's a clever idea. Also, the Switch Lite look gorgeous. The fact that they are completely different block colours, apart from the aforementioned gorgeous Pokemon one, which I'm very tempted by, which is stupid because I already have a Switch. In fact, we have in this household 2 Nintendo Switches because my partner has one as well. So the fact that I'm tempted by another version of the Switch that does nothing different, in fact it does less than my current one, is proof that I'm an idiot. This is just a nice looking piece of hardware, and I think fair play. For me, it feels a little bit like when Nintendo released the DS Lite, and the DS Lite was a gorgeous piece of kit that, you know, it should also be mentioned, doubled the amount of hardware sales for the year it came out. People lapped that up. It's another reason for why it made so much sense that Nintendo are releasing a hardware refresh. When Nintendo released the Nintendo DS Lite in 2006, they went from selling 5 million hardware units in 2005 to 11 million, and then in 2007, they doubled it then to 23 million. In 2009, when they released the DSi, that was the DS that had that crap camera on the front of it, they sold 31 million units. So of course we're seeing a hardware refresh 2 years in. It creates more public interest, it is easier to market, and it gives you an entirely new subsection of the population to sell to. And I think that Nintendo will see a huge increase in sales this year with the Nintendo Switch Lite. I already know some people who are telling me that they are going to buy one this year because it's cheaper than the Switch, and they want to play Pokemon, and Pokemon sells units. So it's good to have a brand new console on the shelves that's cheaper. Well, it's cheaper in theory. I've actually spent the morning trying to find pre-order prices here in the UK so I can try and get a better grasp of what the RRP, doing price is in the UK. At the moment, all I've been able to find is one retailer who is selling it, which is Dame, which is our biggest high street shop for video games. They're selling the Nintendo Switch Lite for, well, the pre-order price, that might change, is $199.99. An actual Switch, just a base Switch, which comes with £30 eShop credit, is $279.99. Now that's only an 80 quid difference between the two, and I'm not sure an 80 quid difference is big enough to make the Switch Lite a hugely viable option for people when they're choosing between the two. Because when you think about it, you pay 80 quid more and you get basically 2 detachable controllers and the ability to play on a television, and also a slightly bigger screen. So I'm interested to see how well the Switch Lite will sell if that's the final price. I don't think that'll be the final price. I think the rumoured price was going to be like £150. Now £150, that makes far more sense. That's like £120 cheaper. For 150 quid for a Switch, that is a steal. That would sell massive amounts of hardware units, but yeah, unsure. That's on Dame, though. Dame is a company that is constantly on the verge of going out of business here in the UK, so I would not be surprised if that is wrong, or we'll find when Amazon start to do their pre-orders that it's much cheaper. Maybe I missed the Amazon pre-orders. I mean, I'm doing this on Friday, so chances are I'm just late to the Dame, which is also possible. So the last thing that's probably worth talking about is this rumoured Nintendo Switch Pro, this updated version of the Nintendo Switch that's rumoured to have things like the bigger screen and enhanced features that are targeted at avid video gamers, which I think was the official line from the Wall Street Journal article. Not as powerful as the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X, but just a beefed up Nintendo Switch that has a few more nice features. I would like to see Joy-Cons with better joysticks, because I actually hate the joysticks on the Joy-Cons. I pretty much only play my Switch on the television with a Pro controller. I find in handheld play, the Joy-Cons are just too, I don't know, I don't like them. Is that just me? Anyone else in the comments have a problem with the Joy-Con analog sticks? No? No, am I just whinging? I'm probably just whinging. So we kind of expected to see the Switch Pro release this year as well. I think the rumor was that the Switch Lite and the Switch Pro will be offered at the same time as both a high-end and a low-end version of the system, which would make sense, I think. It's not too different to how Microsoft currently have a diskless Xbox One and also an Xbox One X, like the low-budget version and the high-end version. But unfortunately, the president of Nintendo America, Doug Bowser, a name I will never get over, said to CNET this week that the Nintendo Switch Lite will be the only new Nintendo Switch hardware this holiday, and that the larger Switch won't get an upgrade right now, which actually makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense that we won't see 2 hardware refreshes this year. I think we'll probably see the Switch Pro next year, or maybe the year after, but I mean probably next year. It makes no sense for them to release 2 new versions of the hardware because one might not sell, so why not stagger it out, and then you can go to your investors and say, hey look, this year we made X amount of Switch sales because we released the Switch Lite, and then this year we made X amount of sales because we released the Switch Pro, and we retired the middle unit at the same time. So yeah, I think we'll probably see the Switch Pro next year. I really want to see the Switch Pro because it's been 2.5 years since the Switch came out. Did it come out in 2017? Yeah, 2.5 years since the Switch came out, so I think I'm probably ready to upgrade. I've always been the type of person to buy the new version of Nintendo handhelds. I did that with the DS. I went from an original model to a Lite and then to a XL or whatever they were told, and then with the 3DS I didn't buy one until the XL was out, and then I bought a new Nintendo 2DS XL, which by the way is one of the best handhelds ever made. The 3D, you don't miss the 3D, but that system is just, oh, I'm in love with my new Nintendo 2DS XL. I struggle to say that every single time. It's such a stupid name. So anyway, that's some thoughts about the Nintendo Switch Lite. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to keep saying that until we get there. If you have any thoughts about the Nintendo Switch Lite or the Nintendo Switch Pro, please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Will you be buying a Nintendo Switch Lite? I'm very curious to see what kind of demographics Nintendo are appealing to currently with this new hardware. Anyway, thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoyed this. Bye!